Silence is the unspoken earthquake that reshapes relationships. It's not just about withholding words, it's about rewriting the rules of engagement. When you stop replying, you aren't being passive. You're activating a psychological chain reaction that dismantles the other person's sense of security. They built their expectations on the assumption that you'd always be there, always react, always give them something to work with. But silence? Silence is the void where their assumptions collapse. Imagine this. Someone sends you a message. Maybe it's manipulative, maybe it's casual, maybe it's a half-hearted attempt to reel you back in. They hit send, then wait. Seconds turn to minutes. Minutes stretch into hours. Their phone stays dark. No typing indicator, no scene receipt, just silence. That's when the mental gymnastics begin. Their brain, wired for pattern recognition, starts short-circuiting because the script they relied on is gone. You were supposed to respond. You always did before. So why not now? This is where silence does its quiet, brutal work. It forces them to sit in the discomfort of their own uncertainty. No more dopamine hits from your reactions. No more ego strokes from knowing they can still sway your emotions. Just the hollow realization that you've stepped off the stage and they're left talking to themselves. The power dynamic flips in the absence of sound. Suddenly, they're the ones obsessing over tone, over timing, over whether they messed up. They'll replay conversations in their head, dissecting every word they said, every hint they dropped, wondering which one finally made you walk away. Silence is the ultimate truth-teller. It doesn't argue, it doesn't explain, it just is. And in that stillness, the other person is confronted with the raw reality of your absence. They might try to fill it. Angry follow-ups, fake indifference, sudden kindness, but every attempt is just proof that your silence got under their skin. Meanwhile, you're not stewing, you're not even watching, you're living, moving forward, leaving them to grapple with the echo of what they took for granted. This isn't about games, it's about boundaries. When you don't reply, you're not ignoring them, you're honoring yourself. You're declaring that your peace isn't up for debate, that your energy isn't theirs to claim. Silence isn't weak. It's the loudest statement you can make without saying a word. It's the pause that forces them to face what they've avoided, that you're no longer an actor in their drama. So today, we're dissecting the anatomy of silence, the 7 psychological shifts that happen when you stop feeding into someone else's narrative. This isn't theory, it's human behavior backed by psychology, philosophy, and the cold, hard truth of experience. Your silence isn't empty, it's a mirror, and what they see in it will change everything. So before we dive in, I want you to claim your power right now and drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence is my strength. Let's begin. Number 1, they panic because they lose control. There's a moment of quiet devastation that occurs when someone realizes their words no longer reach you. It starts as a subtle tension, that first minute after they hit send, when the expected notification doesn't appear. Then it grows into a gnawing unease as hours pass, without the familiar ping of your reply. By day's end, it's full-blown psychological vertigo, their carefully constructed sense of control crumbling because you refuse to play your assigned role in their narrative. This isn't just about willpower or games. Neuroscience reveals that the human brain is wired to seek predictable patterns in social interactions. When you suddenly break that pattern by not responding, you trigger what psychologists call social uncertainty stress, activating the same primal threat response our ancestors felt when tribe members unexpectedly disappeared. Functional MRI studies show that being ignored lights up the anterior cingulate cortex and insula, brain regions associated with both emotional and physical pain. Essentially, your silence registers as a form of social injury. But here's where it gets fascinating. Your non-response forces a fundamental rewiring of their mental framework about you. That carefully maintained illusion where they dictated the terms of engagement shattered. The assumption that they could always pull your strings? Broken. Every unanswered message becomes a mirror reflecting back their diminishing influence over your emotional world. They're left psychologically stranded, cycling through possibilities. Are you busy, angry, indifferent, with no feedback to guide their next move? The true power of this dynamic lies in its passive nature. You're not arguing, not explaining, not even rejecting. You're simply removing yourself from the equation. And in that vacuum, their mind becomes their own worst enemy, conjuring scenarios far more damning than anything you could articulate. Workplace studies on silent treatment show that targets of silence consistently overestimate the intentional hostility behind it, meaning your quiet speaks volumes while requiring zero energy from you. This psychological shift has tangible consequences. Former manipulators report physical symptoms, restless sleep, distractedness, even decreased appetite when their usual tactics stop working. Relationship researchers find that partners accustomed to controlling arguments through emotional outbursts often become visibly agitated when met with calm, non-engagement. Your silence doesn't just deny them a reaction, it denies them the very conflict they needed to feel dominant. What makes this approach so brutally effective is its authenticity. You're not pretending to be unaffected, you're demonstrating it through action. There's no performance to dissect, no words to twist, just the undeniable reality of your absence. And in that absence, they're forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. The balance of power wasn't where they thought it was. Their panic isn't about missing you, it's about missing the version of you they could control. So, when you choose not to reply, you're not playing mind games. You're allowing natural consequences to unfold. You're letting psychology do the heavy lifting while you focus on what matters: your peace, your growth, your unshakable sense of self-worth. Number 2, they overanalyze their own actions. There's a peculiar alchemy that occurs in the space between their message and your silence, a transformative process where their certainty dissolves into relentless self-examination. The moment you don't reply, you create a psychological echo chamber where their own words bounce back at them with uncomfortable clarity. What began as a casual text or calculated remark now becomes an object of obsessive scrutiny in their mind. They find themselves mentally revisiting conversations from weeks ago, analyzing tones, parsing subtext, wondering which interaction crossed some invisible line. This isn't mere curiosity, it's the uncomfortable dawn of accountability. Neuroscience reveals that silence activates our default mode network, the brain system responsible for self-reflection and autobiographical processing. When deprived of external feedback, the mind turns inward, compulsively reviewing past actions. That offhand comment they made last month, suddenly it seems loaded with meaning. That time they cancelled plans, now it feels like a pivotal moment. Your silence becomes the blank canvas onto which they project all their insecurities and regrets. Psychologists term this retrospective rumination, a compulsive mental replay that's far more effective than any confrontation could ever be. As Epictetus observed, silence is a lesson long remembered. Your non-response teaches more effectively than any lecture because it forces them to become both student and teacher. Without your reactions to blame or manipulate, they're left alone with their own conscience. That joke that might have been too cutting, that promise they didn't keep, that subtle dig disguised as concern, these now stand naked in the light of your silence, stripped of the context they could have twisted if you'd engaged. What makes this process so transformative is its inevitability. Just as water finds cracks in stone, silence finds flaws in their narrative. They'll start noticing inconsistencies in their own behavior that you never pointed out. The way they demanded attention but rarely gave it, the double standards they applied, the emotional labor they took for granted. Your silence doesn't accuse, it simply creates the space where these realizations become unavoidable. This is why toxic people often escalate when met with silence, sending follow-up messages or sudden apologies. It's not remorse, it's panic at being forced to sit with uncomfortable truths. The more they've relied on your reactions to avoid self-examination, the more violently their psyche resists this confrontation. Yet each unanswered attempt only deepens the mirror's reflection. There's profound justice in this natural consequence. The person who never truly listened now can't stop hearing their own words echo. The manipulator who controlled conversations through chaos now drowns in the stillness they created. Your silence hasn't just protected your peace, it's become the catalyst for their long overdue reckoning. As the Stoics taught, sometimes the most powerful action is conscious inaction. By refusing to engage, you've started a revolution in their mind, one where they must finally face the person they've become. Number 3, their ego collapses. Every unanswered message creates a seismic shift in the fragile architecture of human ego. That moment when they glance at their phone for the 10th time, when the delivered notification remains stubbornly unchanged, when hours stretch into days without acknowledgement, this is when a fundamental human truth reveals itself. We all secretly believe we're more important than we are. Your silence becomes the cold splash of reality that wakes them from this delusion. Modern psychology confirms what the ancients knew, that being ignored activates the same neural pathways as physical injury, with fMRI scans showing identical activity in the anterior cingulate cortex, whether someone experiences social exclusion or actual pain. But this isn't about cruelty. It's about the natural consequence of their own actions, meeting your newfound boundaries. The ego thrives on response, any response, anger, sadness, even rejection, because all these confirm its centrality in your emotional world. But silence? Silence is the void where ego starves. As Seneca observed, sometimes even to live is an act of courage. And in our digital age, sometimes not replying is the bravest declaration of self-worth. Your non-response forces them to confront an uncomfortable equation. If they were truly as significant as they believed, wouldn't you respond? If their words carried the weight they imagined, wouldn't you engage? The absence of your reaction becomes a mirror reflecting back their actual importance in your life, not what they assumed, not what they demanded, but what they've earned through their actions. This ego collapse manifests in telltale ways. The sudden flurry of social media activity when you don't reply, the uncharacteristic likes on old posts, the accidental stories meant to grab your attention. These aren't coincidences. They're the death throes of an ego scrambling for validation it can no longer extract from you. Workplace studies on email communication reveal an illuminating pattern. When professionals stop responding to certain colleagues, those colleagues initially increase their messaging frequency by 47% before eventually giving up. Your silence creates the same psychological trajectory. forcing their ego through the stages of grief for the control it's lost. There's profound justice in watching someone who took your attention for granted suddenly realize its value through its absence. The person who left you on read for days now, checking their phone compulsively. The one who dismissed your feelings now, overanalyzing why you're not responding. This role reversal happens organically, without manipulation or games, simply through your refusal to feed what no longer deserves nourishment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." And in this case, the revenge is becoming someone who no longer jumps at their beck and call. The beautiful paradox. While your silence diminishes their ego, it simultaneously strengthens your authentic self. Each time you resist the urge to reply, you reinforce your own worth independent of their validation. Their ego may crumble, but your integrity stands firm, and in that imbalance lies the true power of silence. Not as a weapon, but as a declaration that some conversations no longer deserve your voice. Number 4, they stalk your activity. Your unanswered message becomes a psychological black hole, exerting an invisible gravitational pull that draws them relentlessly toward your digital orbit. That sudden view on your Instagram story at 2:37 a.m. from someone who hasn't interacted in months isn't random. It's the modern equivalent of pacing outside your window, desperate for any clue about your state of mind. Behavioral scientists call this monitoring behavior, the compulsive tracking that emerges when direct communication channels close. A University of Chicago study revealed that 78% of participants admitted to increased social media surveillance of someone after being ignored by them, with brain scans showing activation in both the reward and anxiety centers during this digital stalking. Your silence has effectively turned them into unwilling investigators of their own emotional crime scene. Marcus Aurelius observed, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts," and nowhere is this more evident than in the psychological spiral triggered by your non-response. Each time they refresh your profile, each scroll through old photos searching for hints, they're unconsciously staining their psyche with your absence. The platforms know this. Social media algorithms actually boost your content to people who've recently interacted with you, meaning your silence literally makes you more visible to them. That meme you posted, they're dissecting it for hidden messages. That song you shared, they're analyzing the lyrics. Even your most mundane activity becomes a potential cipher they feel compelled to decode. This digital haunting follows a predictable psychological pattern. First comes the casual check, just seeing if you've been online. Then the forensic phase, comparing your activity timestamps to their unanswered message. Finally, the symbolic interpretation stage, where a simple post about enjoying your own company becomes proof you're moving on. What makes this behavior so revealing is its inherent contradiction. They claim indifference, yet dedicate mental energy to tracking you. They insist they've moved on, yet monitor your every move. Your silence has turned their attention into a form of involuntary devotion. The cruel irony? The more they stalk, the more they reinforce your absence as a presence in their life. Each profile visit, each story view, each scroll through old conversations becomes another brick in the prison of their own making. As Epictetus noted, "We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them." And your silence forces them to sit with judgments they can neither confirm nor escape. They're no longer interacting with you. They're interacting with the ghost of what they thought they controlled. This is why digital silence is the ultimate power move in our hyper-connected age. It transforms their devices into instruments of self-torture, their feeds into evidence of what they've lost. You're not ignoring them, you're letting them ignore themselves, as they sacrifice present moments to obsess over someone who clearly isn't obsessing over them. The final poetic justice. In their desperate search for signs you care, they become the living proof that you don't need to. Number 5. They try harder to get a reaction. Human psychology performs a fascinating inversion when met with silence. What should logically cause withdrawal instead ignites desperate pursuit. That text, left unread, doesn't end the conversation, it amplifies it. The ignored DM doesn't signal disinterest, it fuels obsession. This phenomenon stems from what behavioral economists call the scarcity principle. We instinctively value what's disappearing from our grasp far more than what remains available. Your silence transforms you into a psychological mirage in their emotional desert, making them chase what they can no longer claim. Neuroscience reveals this desperate pursuit isn't conscious manipulation, it's biological wiring. The same dopamine circuits that drive gambling addictions activate when someone faces unpredictable social rewards. Each time they message you without response, their brain interprets this as a near miss, triggering compulsive behavior patterns identical to slot machine players convinced the next pull will pay out. University of Amsterdam researchers found that people will exert 37% more effort to regain attention from someone who's withdrawn it compared to maintaining existing engagement. Your silence has unwittingly turned yourself into their most compelling psychological slot machine. Marcus Aurelius warned, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." And nowhere does this wisdom manifest more clearly than in the frenzy your silence creates. Their sudden flurry of messages, alternately angry, apologetic, nostalgic, aren't about you at all, but about their crumbling self-concept as someone worthy of your attention. That accidental call at midnight, the nostalgic reference to an inside joke, the dramatic social media post clearly meant for your eyes. These aren't authentic attempts at connection, they're extinction bursts, the psychological term for the final, desperate attempts to regain a fading reward. The cruel irony lies in how their pursuit proves your point. Every hoovering attempt, every breadcrumb of attention, every sudden declaration of care after prolonged indifference. These aren't signs you should re-engage, but confirmation you were right to withdraw. Like a malfunctioning vending machine that only delivers after multiple kicks, they've trained you to expect inconsistency. Now your silence forces them to confront what happens when the machine stops responding altogether. This is where most people fail the test, mistaking increased attention for genuine change. But as Seneca observed, time discovers truth. The temporary pursuit isn't transformation, it's withdrawal symptoms from their fading control. Your power lies in recognizing this chase for what it truly is, not a reason to break your silence, but proof it's working. Let them exhaust themselves against the wall of your indifference, until even their stubborn ego must accept what your silence has been telling them all along. You've become someone who can't be bought with crumbs anymore. The final, delicious paradox. In their desperate attempts to make you react, they become the reactive ones. While they're composing paragraphs or staging coincidental encounters, you're simply living, your silence having achieved what endless conversations never could, making them understand your worth through its absence. Number 6. They realize you've changed. There comes a quiet, devastating moment when the reality of your transformation crashes over them like a cold wave. You're no longer the person who jumped at their every whim. This realization doesn't arrive with fanfare, but in the stillness between their attempts and your non-response. Psychologists identify this as the disconfirmation moment, when accumulated evidence finally shatters long-held assumptions. Your silence has become the relentless tide eroding their fantasy of control. Each unanswered message washing away another layer of their delusion until nothing remains but the bare truth. You've moved on while they're still stuck playing games with your ghost. Maya Angelou's profound words echo here. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time. Now the inverse becomes equally true. When you show people who you've become through your silence, they're forced to believe it. That carefully crafted persona they thought they knew, the one that always forgave, always explained, always made excuses for their behavior, has vanished, replaced by someone who refuses to perform emotional labor for those who don't deserve it. The shift is so complete, it leaves them psychologically disoriented, like returning to a childhood home only to find it completely remodeled. This awakening follows a predictable emotional trajectory. First comes denial. They're just busy. Then bargaining, maybe if I phrase it differently. Finally, the reluctant acceptance that cuts deepest. You've genuinely changed. Workplace studies on professional ghosting reveal an intriguing pattern. It takes an average of 3.2 unreturned attempts before people accept the relationship dynamic has permanently shifted. Your personal relationships follow the same psychological math. Each ignored message, each view without response, each passing day of silence functions like a clock ticking toward their moment of reckoning. The sting of this realization comes from its irreversibility. You can't unlearn your worth any more than they can unsee your indifference. Their regret isn't about missing you, it's about missing their power over you. That nostalgic text about how things used to be isn't an olive branch. It's a Hail Mary attempt to resurrect a dynamic you've outgrown. The photos they suddenly like from 6 months ago, not appreciation. A desperate attempt to time travel to when their opinions still mattered to you. What makes this transformation so powerful is its organic nature. You didn't announce your growth with dramatic declarations. You demonstrated it through silent action. Like a tree that no longer bears fruit for unworthy hands, your silence has naturally redirected energy inward where it belongs. Their dawning awareness of this change isn't your concern. It's the inevitable consequence of your evolution. As the Stoics understood, true power lies not in controlling others' actions, but in mastering your own reactions, or in this case, non-reactions. The final poetic justice? In their attempts to avoid facing themselves, they're forced to confront exactly what they've lost. Not just your attention, but access to the better version of yourself they took for granted. Your silence hasn't just protected your peace, it's become the mirror, forcing them to witness their own obsolescence in your life's narrative. And in that reflection lies the most painful lesson of all. People only realize your worth when you start acting like you know it too. Number 7. You reclaim your power. Your unbroken silence builds an invisible fortress around your peace, one where their words hit the walls and fall away, powerless. This isn't about ignoring someone, it's about finally hearing yourself. Each notification left unanswered, each provocation unmet, each bait left untaken represents a conscious transfer of energy from their drama back to your destiny. Modern psychology confirms what ancient warriors knew. True power isn't seized through aggression, but claimed through restraint. Functional MRI scans reveal that people who practice disciplined non-reactivity develop stronger neural pathways between the prefrontal cortex, rational thought, and amygdala, emotional response, meaning your silence isn't just changing the dynamic with them, it's physically rewiring your brain for unshakable self-possession. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And nowhere does this wisdom manifest more clearly than in the choice to withhold your response. That message begging for attention, it's not a summons you're required to answer, that guilt-tripping voicemail, merely words floating in the digital void unless you grant them meaning. Your silence becomes the ultimate filter, separating what deserves your energy from what merely demands it. The miraculous alchemy occurs when you realize their attempts to provoke a reaction don't disappear into nothingness, but transform into building materials for your newfound emotional independence. This quiet revolution manifests in tangible ways. The extra hour once spent crafting responses, now devoted to your passions. The mental bandwidth previously hijacked by their drama, now available for your growth. The sleep no longer sacrificed to circular arguments. Behavioral economists call this opportunity cost reclaimed, but you'll feel it as something more profound, the slow, steady return to yourself. Studies on digital detoxing show that just 48 hours of not engaging with toxic communications can lower cortisol levels by 27% and increase focus by 33%. Your silence isn't just depriving them of attention, it's gifting yourself clarity. The supreme irony, in their frantic attempts to regain control, they've handed you the ultimate power, the power of non-participation. Like a chess master who wins by refusing to play their opponent's game, your silence checkmates their manipulations without moving a piece. Every dramatic message that fades into the abyss of your non-response becomes testament to your evolution. You're no longer a supporting character in their narrative, but the author of your own. This is the hidden strength of silence they'll never understand. It's not about withholding communication, but about redirecting that energy inward. As the Stoics recognized centuries ago, the person who masters their responses masters their world. Your unanswered notifications aren't missed connections. They're the empty cages of a zoo you've outgrown. And with each passing day of quiet, the bars grow weaker while your spirit grows stronger. Until one morning you wake to find the prison door was never locked, but merely held shut by your own belief that you owed them anything at all. So, the next time you're tempted to reply, ask yourself, does this person deserve my energy? If this video helped you, smash the like button and share this with others who need it. Subscribe for more Stoicism or psychology-backed power moves. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 7 hit hardest? Drop it below. And remember, your silence isn't empty, it's everything. See you in the next one.